see you. Thank you for your participation today and collaboration with us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we will start the seminar. Yeah, good afternoon. I am Sunyong Eom, Chair of the Big Data Research Committee of the Korea Planning Association, KPA, and Research Fellow at the Seoul Institute of Technology. The second seminar of the Big Data Research Committee today is hosted by the Big Data Research Committee of the KPA and Mathematics, Data Science, and Artificial Intelligence, MDA, Education Promotion Office at the University of Tsukuba under the theme of urban planning utilization of location-based big data. I will host today's joint seminar. The event will be held in English, and the presentation and discussion of the seminar will be uploaded to YouTube channel of Korea Planning Association, so please refer to it. Today's seminar will proceed in the order of listening to 15-minute presentations from each of the four presenters and discussing their presentations. Before the presentation, Vice President of Korea Planning Association, Moon-Chae, Professor Hiroichi Kawashima of the MDA Education Office at the University of Tsukuba will give you opening remarks. First, let's listen to the Vice President of KPA, Moon-Chae.
Hello, everybody. 皆さん、こんにちは。I am Moon-Chae, the Vice President of the Korea Planning Association. Welcome to the joint seminar on location big data in urban planning on behalf of the Korea Planning Association to all of you who have participated online today. The Big Data Research Committee of the KPA and the Education Promotion Office of Mathematics, Data Science, and Artificial Intelligence at the University of Tsukuba are co-hosting this event. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Professor Hiroichi Kawashima, the leader of the MDA Education Promotion Office at the University of Tsukuba, for this invaluable support and collaboration in organizing this seminar. The KPA, as the representative organization in the field of the urban planning in Korea, strive to foster the exchange of academic achievements through various research committees. The Big Data Research Committee play a crucial role in exploring urban planning and policy issues using data science. Science-based methodologies in the alignment with advancement in big data and artificial intelligence. Together with the University of Tsukuba, renowned for its excellence in research and education, we aim to create a platform for the sharing knowledge, experience, and innovative ideas that will shape the future of urban planning. The purpose of today's seminar lies in the significant role of location-based big data for urban planners and policymakers, providing valuable insight for the diagnosing and solving problem changes based on special consideration. I am confident that this seminar will serve as a catalyst for innovative solutions and pave the way for the brighter future in urban planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chae. Next, we will hear from Professor Hiroichi Kawashima.
Thank you, Dr. Jong-Yeon Choi, for your kind introduction. Thank you very much. It is my first of all, it is my great honor to make an opening remark for today's international seminar on location-based big data in urban planning, organized by Mathematics, Data, and AI Education Promotion Office. We call it MDA Office of the University of Tsukuba, jointly with Big Data Research Committee, Korea Planning Association. On behalf of MDA Office, I'm truly delighted to have today's international seminar with Korea Planning Association. Today, I think we gather here with a shared purpose to embark on a transformative journey of knowledge exchange, innovation, and collective wisdom that transcends our borders. In this rapidly evolving era of data-driven decision-making, the role of big data in shaping our cities and urban landscapes has become more vital than ever. By harnessing the power of location-based data, we can unlock invaluable insights into urban planning and pave the way for sustainable and resilient communities. I especially thank Vice President Dr. Bong Moon Choi for your precious efforts to realize today's event with us. And I also thank for special speakers from private and academia and from Japan and Korea, Mr. Nobuhiro Jinai, Professor Sunyong Eom, Professor Yong-Long Kim, Professor Jiho Yeo. I thank all your valuable time, preparation, and intellectual contributions to today's seminar. Our MDA office, the University of Tsukuba, opened this April 2023, just 2 months ago, solidly supported by Japan's Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology. Our MDA program is designated as one of the 11 leading university data science education promotion programs in Japan. Our main aim is to produce top 10 data science experts per year from our doctoral programs. To produce these top 10 data science experts, we are now designing and establishing 4 pillar courses. Firstly, collaborative research with private and public partners. Secondly, overseas long-term study. Thirdly, interdisciplinary cross-sectoral seminar. And fourthly, special exercise for outstanding data science expert candidates. Today's seminar is strongly related with the first and second pillar courses, collaborative research and overseas long-term study, in a sense that we can expand our partnerships for these courses with private and academic partners from Korea and all over the world, building upon today's discussions. The mission of the University of Tsukuba in general is to be an open university in all aspects, and we are a front runner in the university reform in Japan. Personally, I deeply believe that sharing our knowledge and experiences beyond existing borders and barriers are must for high-level data science education. The existing borders and barriers include national borders, sectoral borders, thematic borders, cultural barriers, language barriers, and so on. To facilitate trans-border and trans-barrier joint research and education, Professor Sunyong Eom, MDA office is currently leading the development of university's data and data science case bank, which is open and available for all. At the end of my opening remark, I hope that today's seminar will trigger following many fruitful co-creative activities among us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Kawashima. Now, let's listen to the 4 presentation in turn. Presenters are requested to abide by the 15 minutes time limit for each presentation. First, we would like to ask Professor Sunyong Eom to make a presentation.
Okay, thank you, Professor Dr. Che. I would like to start my presentation, and then wait a second, please. Can I see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my great pleasure and honor that I present before you today. And I appreciate Professor Choi Bong-moon and Professor Dr. Sunyong Che for giving this opportunity and joint seminar. And today I will present about exploring human mobility for urban planning. As a first presenter, I'd like to discuss how we can utilize location-based big data for urban planning. This is a brief profile. Then I got my master in Hanyang University. Then I got my PhD in University of Tsukuba. Then I started my work in here. Now I'm started at the MD office from this year. Okay, I think I don't have to give a specific explanation why we have to use big data for urban planning is essential to understand how people move around the cities. It's related to most part of urban planning, and this figure shows that how the human mobility is important in the urban studies. So in order to understand the human mobility, and space and time is inevitable. So here I'd like to explain some example of the big data. Recently, the mobile network-based big data or GPS-based big data are widely used. Of course, before the big data, the traditional data such as pedestrian count and the traffic camera also still used regarding the understanding human flow or the recent big data. Here are some examples of big data in Japan. Here, the first present the mobile network-based big data in Japan, and this also shows how people moved from the city to city. And the last one shows the GPS-based big data shows not only where they are, but also how they moved from the point to point. I think Mr. Jinnai will give a great presentation about this point today. Also, this is the plotting data in Seoul metropolitan area. So I used this for my study before, but when I introduce this point to the Japanese scholars, they're surprised because this is free. So I think this is a good opportunity to share our knowledge for how we can utilize big data in urban planning. Today, I'd like to discuss human mobility with different resolution here, micro, meso, and macro. So this is not the exact definition, but I'd like to define the micro level that has a human mobility in the specific district, meso level human mobility in the neighborhood, and their relationship where they came from or where they go. Lastly, I'd like to define the macro level as human mobility in the intercity level, means how people move cities to cities. Here, maybe it's too much today, but I'd like to introduce briefly about points that I'd like to discuss with you in the micro level and meso level, and lastly, micro level. Let's start from the micro level. Here, I'd like to discuss about how big data is effective to capturing the human mobility in the urban planning. Also, I'd like to emphasize the necessity of combining a multiple data source, not only rely on one sources. Then I'd like to discuss how the GPS-based data is powerful to know the human mobility in the urban areas. Okay, floating population is one of the widely used data based on the mobile data. Here, left side shows the pedestrian count data in Melbourne, and the right side is big data in the Sapporo city during the COVID-19. So as you can see, big data is powerful to understand the human mobility. In case of this camera, we have to install everywhere, but in this case of the big data, we don't have to. So it is very powerful. So I conducted the case study, how human mobility changed in downtown of Toyota cities in Japan. It is a small cities in the Aichi. Here, mobile data shows how the human mobility changed according to the infection of the COVID-19. Here in the first stages, you can find a great decrease in here. Also, it is recovered or decreased according to the government policies or infection situation. From this graph shows how it is powerful. And in the past, it was impossible to detect these kinds of the human mobility easily, but it's possible now. But I have the one question: what is the reason for this change? So the number of people or their state origin is considered for the floating data. Here, mobile big data considered both count and their time. So in case of the floating data, they cannot distinguish these two districts. District A, there are 5 persons, and District B, there are 2 persons. But the floating population cannot find the difference in here. So this reduction can be caused by just decrease of count, or can be caused by just decrease of time, or both of them. So big data is powerful, but cannot say everything here. So I tried to combine different data sources. It's traditional data with the camera, the count the pedestrian here. Then it is same that we can find a great decrease in here, but in the end of the emergency situation is kinds of the social distancing policies in Japan. The floating data do not recover to the previous level of the COVID-19, but count data is recovered. What does this difference mean? It's my question. So at that time, I think at the first time, I think something was wrong, but the conclusion is that both of them are right, but the meaning is different. So here, the count means that the people who visit this downtown is recovered after the first declaration, but the floating data does not. It means that many people are come back to this the downtown, but their stay time is very short compared to before the COVID-19. So by combining this data, we can get more information and insight. Then it is very helpful to making the policies in urban planning. So I'd like to emphasize that big data tells a lot, but it is not perfect. So we also have to collaborate with the traditional data such as camera or traffic count. Sometimes the administrative data is important. The second part is the different type of big data is GPS big data. In my knowledge, maybe it is not common in Korea, but it's widely used in Japan. The GPS is not new, but the large case GPS is recently used a lot and has a potential to understand human mobility, not only how many people are in there, but also how they travel the area or how many times they stay in there. So for example, if same number is staying here, but according to how they travel or how many times they stay, the vibrancy of the area may be greatly different. So here, GPS is a kind of the tool to know more detailed human mobility here. So I'm trying some case studies how the metro area in Tokyo is walkable or not using this big data. So based on data, we know not only the number, but also how they travel these areas or how they stay in here. Because of time limit, I have skipped the details, but in this study, I tried to capture the human movement from the perspective of count, distance, and time, then characterize each area. Then finally, I would like to find the built environment factor, which can contribute to vitalize the area regarding the count, distance, and time. So GPS trajectory data has potential to capture details and also can give a specific insight to more specific physical planning. Okay, let me move on to the meso level. So here are 3 points that I'd like to discuss together. This is a case study in Korea, and I tried to investigate how the human mobility changed when COVID-19 in the first stage, very early time in COVID-19. So if we consider the time axis like here, each area, the one line means each district. Here, the Dong in Korea is similar in the Chochomok in Japan. Then one line is one area. Then if we consider time, one line can be considered object. So by clarifying their trend, we can get more insight how we can deal with the infection disease here. So I applied called time series clustering methodology here. And this is a simple result. So it is common that most every area is decreased regarding human mobility, but their trend is different like this one. Of course, these two, the light blue and dark blue shows a great decrease the CBD areas, but their recovery speed was different. Here, the dark area shows the fast recovery, but the light blue does not. Based on this time, the capturing the trend, we can make some specific policies in this area according to this trend. And then I did a similar things in Japan. I found a similar trend in Japan also. Yes, this is Tokyo, Osaka, and the other cities. Of course, human mobility does not tell how we can do, but by combining the other data, it have a more power for our urban planning. So the below figure shows that how the public transit changed during the COVID-19. So this graph shows that in most area, the frequency of the transit is decreased. It means that the accessibility of the citizens may decrease because of a small number of the bus or railway. However, based on our data analysis, we found out that even though it was decreased in the first stages, but it was recovered. So it means that there can mismatching of the demands of citizens and the supply of the public transportation. It can be a problem regarding the human accessibility. So I think there are many applications, the implications of big data, but big data can use to understand the human mobility and can apply to designing the public transportation network. So here, left side is example of Seoul. They design nighttime the bus line based on the big data, where they moved based on the mobile signal. So I found a similar one in the Singapore. Regarding the population decreasing in Korea and Japan, we have to think about how we redesign the public transportation network. So I think the big data have potential to make effective and then give enough accessibility without the loss of the cost. So I think it is one of the potential of big data. Okay, let's move on to the last part. I'm sorry too fast, but last part is macro level. Here, I investigate the relationship between the cities and here. So if we think about the human flow between the cities, it can be interpreted as a network between the cities. So if there are a lot of persons are moved between cities, it can be considered as a community. So I did some case studies regarding COVID-19. I found that before COVID-19, there is a big community here, but it was become small during COVID-19 and recovered. So it is based on this big data, it's easy to detect these kind of changes. So I think about what we can do based on this one. So recently, I tried to investigate how the cross-border cooperation is effective regarding the disaster management and the daily life. I found that if we can use not only my city's facility, but also neighboring cities, it can decrease the travel time and effective the facility management. But it is not easy. So cities do not know where I have to cooperate with or where is my partner for our regional planning. But here, the big data can give a base the images where I have to corroborate it. Who is the city? They have the great human flow. So I don't know what is the specific details, but I believe these kinds of the data analysis can contribute to promote the regional planning. I'm sorry to fast presenting today, but I'd like to discuss about what we can do in the micro, meso, and macro level. And this is reference. Thank you for your listening. Dr. Che, your mic is off.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Eom. Yeah, next we will hear from Mr. Jinnai.
Yes. Okay. So, okay, so can you see my presentation now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So good afternoon. It's very honored to be here today. Thank you so much. So I'm Nobuhiro Jinnai from GEOTRA. I'm CEO of GEOTRA. So today I would like to walk you through the basic information of our company. So, and we, GEOTRA, now have the joint research project with University of Tsukuba. So we are GEOTRA. So we are kind of leading big data companies based in Tokyo or Japan. And our services begins by visualizing people's activities, like Om Sensei presenting, based on their location data, which is collected from the mobile phone. And we use this data to see how certain actions to the city affects people's activities. So we provide this kind of data, but we also provide like consultation services or analysis services or maybe simulation services by using this kind of big data in the human mobility. So we are established in May 2022, so last year. So as a joint venture between Mitsui and the company, so which is kind of one of the largest investment companies in Japan, and KDDI. So KDDI is one of the largest telecommunication companies, MNO companies in Japan. So in this year, we have supported a lot of like clients on their decision making in urban planning or urban development area. So this is the example of our like existing clients or maybe partner. So our clients come from like different industries. So, but we particularly have exceptional expertise on urban development or transportations or construction. So as you can see on the top left side, you can see MLIT is Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transportation and Tourism. And so we also support the Tokyo metropolitan governments in terms of like urban renewal project. And we also support Shibuya City, so maybe you know, which is one of the like, most crowded cities in Japan. And we can support Shibuya City in the context of a small city development. And in terms of private companies, so in Japan, so a lot of private companies also use this GPS-based location data. So we support Mitsubishi Estate, which is the largest real estate companies in Japan. So they have a lot of like development project around the Tokyo station in Tokyo. And JR is Japan Railway, and Shimizu Corporation is they're also one of the largest construction companies in Japan. So yeah, so this is one example of a client. So in Japan. So I have mentioned earlier so that we use location data to simulate or maybe to visualize people's activity. So what is the location data? So where it comes from? So one of the GEOTRA's parent companies, so KDDI, so one of the largest MNO in Japan, owns a massive amount of location data, so which obtained through the GPS sensor on people's smartphone or mobile phone. So the location data tells us where people are and where and how they are transporting or who they are, or theoretically, so we can see the precise activity of each individuals. So, but now you may think that using location data possibly violates people's privacy. So we are fully aware of this, and this is why our technology fully protects the safety of individual. So in the technology wise, so based on the location data we collected, so we recreate artificial data set, so which is synthetic data, where individual remains anonymous and their activities cannot be specified. So this is called a privacy tech. So we think that this is really important, and this is a key to enhancing our business area. So the artificial data that we create, the synthetic data that we create can display traces of anonymous individual within the data. like what time people left their houses, or when or why they went, and how long they stayed, and etc. And so our clients can have access to this kind of GEOTRA activity data through our web-based dashboard. So users can analyze various types of activities, such as like a density of area, traces of people, or maybe traffic. So for example, if you take a look at the top right images, so you can see how like a central area colored in yellow, so it's more dense. So dense means a lot of people there. And so web dashboard also provide the multiple filters. So as you can see on the left sidebar in the blue one, so users can filter data depending on the people gender, ages, or purpose of stay, or transportation means, and so on. So this time, so I would like to give you some demonstration of our product, or maybe our data. So wait a moment. So our web dashboard is all written in Japanese, so sorry that. So this is a web dashboard we provide to your clients. So now I was showing the human mobility data by GPS around the Tokyo station. So this one is Tokyo station. So for example, so if you want to know who is coming to this area. So this green one is the park. It's a really beautiful park called Hibiya Park, close to Tokyo Station. So if you want to know who is coming to this place, you can analyze like this. So for example, so now I set a filter to collect the data set of who is coming to this Hibiya Park. And you can firstly know that, so this means gender group. So 60% is male and 39% is female, or something like that. And you can also know that the age group, so sorry, genders group and age group, and 20, 30, 40, 60, and 50 and over 60, or something like that. And we collect this kind of like information from the MNO contract information. And you can also know that, so this means a trip purpose. So you can know why people coming to this Hibiya Park for like outdoor purposes, or for work, or maybe shopping. So because there are several like shopping store in this park. So you can know trip purposes by using these kind of big data. And you can also know, so this one means the trip mode. So you can know how people coming to this Hibiya Park by train, or by foot, or maybe by car, or something like that. So then if you want to know that what kind of people is coming to this Hibiya Park by foot, so then you can filter as like this. Now I'm selecting the trip mode by foot. So, and you can see the origin destination like this. So this blue one is representing each individual activities who is coming to the Hibiya Park by foot. So you can see that the people, a lot of people is coming from this area, or maybe this area, or something like that. And if you want to know the difference, in the lunchtime or evening, so then you can add a filter like this. So now I'm selecting the lunchtime. So then in the lunchtime, a lot of people is coming, a lot of people in this area is coming to the Hibiya Park by foot. But so now I am changed the filter to the evening. So then you can see that a lot of people on the right side of the park is coming to the Hibiya Park by foot. So like this, so by using the GPS big data or this kind of dashboard, so you can easily know that how people spend their time, how people move, how people enjoy the city by using big data. So our client using this kind of like big data for the planning in transportation, for planning in urban renewal project, urban development, or maybe tourism, or disaster prevention, or something like that. Okay. So this is an overview of our data and the product. So, so as you can see, so we can provide the data and this kind of dashboard to our clients. So so our business or our use cases of our data covers various fields shown on this slide, and potentially so or many more to come. So and today, so I would also like to introduce the two of GEOTRA's actual use cases in Japan. So the first one is related to the urban development projects, so which we have conducted last year with Tokyo Metropolitan Government. So they have the plan, so urban renewal project in Shinjuku area. Shinjuku area is also one of the most crowded places in Tokyo. So the client faces two challenges. So one is lack of evidence. So there are a lot of like problem in the region, but there are no evidence. So another problem they have is they cannot measure the effect of certain actions. So if you have some like actions or some certain like event or something like that, so they cannot know how it affects the people movement. So then, firstly, we conducted a detailed analysis of people's trip in Shinjuku area to understand the current situation and identify the problems of this area. So, and for example, we analyze like excursions. Excursion means how people move in the regions, or maybe origin destination of pedestrians within this area to grasp the general information of this area. And what was unique in this case is that so we also designed like a simulation model. So based on the result of a social experiment we conducted with the Tokyo government. So they have the social experiment like the picture on the left side. So they use their open spaces or road networks to make a better city. So they have event like this. So our people have spent their time in these open spaces or road network. And then so we use the big data to evaluate the impact of this social experiment. And from that data, we also like developed the simulation model to evaluate the impact. And now we have with the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, so we come up with actual certain like possible actions to make this place or to make the area better place. So the second use case is about the mobility or transportation. So this one is the project which is conducted by Tottori Prefecture, which is left side of region in Japan. So they face the chronic traffic congestion in central areas, but same as Tokyo Metropolitan Government, they have no evidence. They lack the actual data to evaluate the traffic demand. So the first things we do is that examination of the precision of our data. So because we know that our clients won't feel comfortable so using our data without knowing its accuracy. So we use traffic counter data, which is coming from the prefectural police department. And we have done the data accuracy confirmation by using some like a statistical data set, statistical measurement. So like this, so we confirm the data accuracy, then we do the simulation analysis, road network simulation analysis. So in this simulation, so we conducted another scenario in which Tottori Expressway, so this one, is suspended So as seen in the bolded red section on the left side. So we examined how this suspension would affect the traffic. So as a result, the traffic flow shifted to local roads. And for example, also we can see how route this 373 was chosen as an alternative choice by looking at the drastic change in traffic volume in this simulation. So like this, so this is just one example, but like this, so we use this kind of big data to evaluate the traffic demand, or maybe we can run the simulation, insert like a realistic potential like cases in road network. Okay, so this is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your hearing. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Jinai. Yeah. Yeah. Next, we will listen to Professor Yeo. If you are ready, please begin your presentation.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's my honor to present here. My name is Jiho Yeo from the Hannam University. So I'll be presenting one of my research about the digital twin for large-scale urban mobility operating system. So first, I briefly introduce myself, my research background and experience. I majored in urban planning in my undergraduate and received PhD in transportation and mobility. So after receiving PhD, I worked at AI lab funded by the Grand Mobility Service. So as seen in my research career, I'm continuously trying and pursuing multidisciplinary research. So this is the content of my research. So first, I briefly introduce my research motivation and objective, and then I explain the framework and the performance of the simulation, and then make some contribution and explain limitation and future work. So first, I introduce the background of the research. So like the rapid technology advancement, like autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, and shared mobility platform has led to the emergence of innovative mobility systems, which are reshaping our cities and the way we travel. So there are various mobility systems. So we have a traditional system like bus, subway, taxis, and recently, like based on the platform company like Uber, Grab, DiDi, there is also ride-hailing and ride-sharing services. And there is also like futuristic and some more innovative mobility solutions like the Hyperloop, flying taxis, and robot delivery service. So I thought that we need a testbed for these new mobility systems. And there are three reasons why we have testbed. The first one is the mitigating a real-world risk. So experimenting directly with the new mobility system in the real world can pose significant risk, like safety and unexpected potential harm and errors. And the second one is the conflict of interest. So the introduction of a new mobility service sometimes makes some conflict with the existing service. So the testbed offers a neutral platform where all stakeholders can collaborate, and then we can avoid this conflict. And third one is that like the technological challenges. So many innovative mobility systems like the Hyperloop or urban air mobility, they are still under development. So we cannot test in this system in the real world. So we have to, we need some test bed. So my research question is about, there is no playground for testing new mobility systems in other fields like the robot and like the robotics and other like in game environment. There is very, very famous open source environment. So many researchers can involve in this environment and test their own algorithms using this environment like Mujuko and OpenGym, OpenAI Gym. But I think that there is no virtual environment for suitable for operating mobility systems. So we in transportation field, we also have traffic simulation like the VStream and like the Sumo. But this kind of microscopic traffic simulation are suitable for analyzing traffic flow or some links or several intersections, but they have limitations when applied to like urban or metropolitan scale. So this is the limitation. So I want to make the digital twin for urban mobility system, and the recent increased computer power has made it possible to implement digital twin for cities and mobility systems. So this left picture is a digital twin the Tesla has. So it's suitable for training the autonomous vehicles they have. So as you can see in this picture, the rendering quality is very important because training autonomous vehicle is based on the vision and based on the camera. So their rendering quality is very important. The right side is about it's called AB Street. It's about the transportation planning. So when it comes to the transportation planning, the rendering quality is not important. The more important thing is their functions and their options. So in this AB Street, someone can put the bike lane, someone can put the subway, or they can adjust the transit route. So this is very important. So I think that for mobility system, these two components are the key: scalability and extensibility. So scalability is about the ability to test a large-scale mobility service in metropolitan cities, and about the extensibility, it's about the ability to implement various mobility systems, as I mentioned, like routeless bus, drone delivery, autonomous mobility service. So they have to have large and high extensibility. So I put my research objective to build a mobility digital twin that serves as a test bed for new mobility services. So through this, I focus on to attain the scalability and high extensibility. So this is the framework what I propose, and this is the lightweight and open source framework. So various algorithms and models can be tested in this framework, and all these small box is the module what we propose. And if you switch and change this module, then you can make many various mobility service. So I separated all this module and make the proposed simulation to attain high scalability and high extensibility. And this yellow box, this is the estimated time arrival model. It's about the travel time. So as you know, in simulating mobility service, the vehicle's travel time is very, very important. So we have to have to estimate accurate travel time. So I put the running-based estimation module at this. So as a prior presenter also presents, the link-based speed time is not important in this simulation. The more important thing is the origin destination-based travel time. So I'm using the real-world taxi data in Seoul and train them using this departure arrival time and location, day of week, and the holiday information, and then make the machine learning model that predict the estimate travel time. And as you can see that the yellow and red and blue are the actual and predicted travel time, and it is well known that the machine learning has high performance about the predicting travel time, but the more important thing is their speed. So based on the simulation and based on the link-based speed, link-based travel time, this machine learning based model has even faster speed than the other method. So it makes the simulation more fast, and so it's very important. And also, powerful visualization is very important. So I utilize the DeckGL, it's provided by Uber. So it's an open source visualization framework specialized for heavy data visual analysis. So DeckGL enables us to easily create complex visualization. So, and I'll explain the result of my research. And so this is what I made. It is the visualization in Seoul. I visualize all taxi movement in Seoul using this GEOTRA. And this simulation is not only it's not just the visualization. In this framework, all the passengers and vehicles are dispatched and they are met, and then vehicles go to the passenger to do their duties. So I'm implementing this taxi service in Seoul using the real world data from 10 to 2 a.m. And there is more than 20,000 taxis and there's more than 200,000 passengers. So it works well. And to prove the scalability of the GEOTRA, I change the vehicles and passengers and calculate the computation time. So I compared it from the previous state-of-the-art model. It is called Amadeus. So it's even more than twice time faster than the previous SOTA model. And also, if we increase the vehicles and passengers, then for one day it takes only 3 hours. So it has a high scalability because as I reported in Amadeus, it's not applicable because of the computation burden. So, and also the proposed framework and proposed simulation has also high extensibility. So it's very easily expandable to various cities. We use the open data map, open sticks map, and then if we can have exact the location of the city, then we can easily implement to other cities. So like New York, Chicago, and this is the Yeo Island in Seoul. And it's also extensible to various mobility service, like the pickup and delivery service. And it's an ongoing process, but I'm now working on making some drone delivery and urban air mobility service. So this is about the pickup and delivery service, and it can be utilized in food delivery company, or we can, yeah. So, and then I'll make the conclusion. I think I'm a little bit fast, but yeah, I only have 15 minutes. So yeah, so in summary, I propose the digital twin for urban mobility operating system, and I name it GEOTRA. And we propose a novel architecture that combine on running-based estimate time of arrival model and vehicle router algorithms to achieve high speed while maintaining the accuracy. And the contribution of my research is it offers a distinct advantages in terms of scalability, speed, and powerful visualization when compared to the current state-of-the-art other mobility digital twin. And I think this is the first attempt to construct a digital twin capable of covering large-scale metropolitan level mobility system like the Seoul metropolitan areas. And if I have data, then I can make it for Tokyo and New York and Chicago. I'm not sure it can be possible in Beijing, so because Beijing is bigger than the Seoul, so it can be operated well more than 30,000 and 2,000 passengers per day. And this is the ongoing research, and this is the very first part of the research. So at the left side picture, I just construct a digital twin for mobility system, and I'm trying to implement various mobility systems through these modes, like taxi and bus, and I also implement like urban air mobility, hyperloop, and I plan to integrate the multimodal mobility system because nowadays mobility systems are not solely exist, they are cooperate each other, so then multimodal system is very important. And through this, some from this system has also, we have to make some key algorithms to operate this system, like dispatch and rebalancing the vacant vehicles. It is very important. And finally, through this framework, I want to put some evidence and database policy making. Yeah. So this is the end of the presentation, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Yeo. I'm very sorry we cannot give you more time. And I think it's very good, very good in terms of not just large scale, but also multimodal vehicle mobility application. Yeah. Lastly, we will listen to Professor Kim Young-ro.
Okay, let me share my slide. So does everyone hear me well and see my screen?
Good.
All right, thank you. Let me see. Okay. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Young Kim from Gachon University, and thank you for having me at this wonderful seminar. I already learned a lot from other three presenters, and I hope I can give you something, as the last presenter as well. My presentation more focuses on the temporal side rather than the spatial side on a spatial temporal analysis. So I'd like to begin by asking you a very simple question. How do you define night? It seems like a very straightforward question on the surface, but the reality turns out to be less so. So hold on to that definition in your mind. We'll revisit that shortly. And I'd like to be clear regarding the purpose of this presentation. The objective of this research is to suggest an unsupervised learning approach to mitigate the modifiable temporal unit problem in a spatial temporal analysis. So in this presentation, I will pursue two goals. The first one is to resolve a methodological issue over the definition of nighttime. And the second one is to contribute empirical evidence for nighttime vitality, focusing on the case of Seoul. Before sunrise, before sunset, and before midnight. In this trilogy, as a romantic, I really enjoy the dialogue and relationship between Jesse and Selena. But more so, as a researcher in spatial temporal analysis, I was also enchanted by the fact that the specific temporal and spatial context significantly contributed to the romance. So what does nighttime mean to you? Or which events from your personal history do you associate with nighttime? The Cambridge Dictionary defines nighttime as the time in every 24-hour period when it is dark. Yes, simply put, it is a time between evening and morning. However, from a spatial temporal analysis viewpoint, this definition is lacking. So my curiosity in the definition of nighttime begins here. How can we, as scientists, operationalize nighttime more systemically while incorporating seasonal changes and local contexts such as nightlife culture in different areas? And in the literature on nighttime, I was not the first one to question the definition of nighttime. So let me summarize them in 4 points. First, nighttime has been relatively neglected compared to the dominating discourse of daytime in urban studies. For example, Murray Melvin's essay on nighttime as frontier summarizes this philosophy as follows. As the United States expanded its territorial frontier to the West Coast, the Industrial Revolution expanded our temporal horizon to nighttime. But nighttime is still considered as a temporal object to be managed because it's seen as being dark and dangerous. Second, most nighttime studies have not overcome the dualistic view of day and night. So nighttime is usually defined as the counterpart of daytime, but the boundary between daytime and nighttime remains undefined. Additionally, an arbitrary definition of nighttime overlooks the variables in natural and social factors. Even though the presence of sunlight and seasonal variation largely dictates the parameters of natural nighttime, it should be noted that the natural distinction between daytime and nighttime is not discrete, but rather continuous. Furthermore, if we take into account the social attitude regarding nighttime, it should be defined according to social context. For example, 10 p.m. at a vibrant district of Seoul looks, feels, even smells differently than 10 p.m. in Gotham City, for example. So I'm not just talking about nightlife in different cities. Even in the same city, social nighttime can be defined differently in different districts and different seasons. Even within the same temporal and geographical setting, different age or gender groups could have different experience of nighttime. So these are the 4 reasons why we need a systematic and contextualized way to overcome the current definition of nighttime. In the language of geography, the problematization has been covered by many different terms. First, in general, the change of support problem is a blanket term encompassing problems related to size, shape, and spatial orientation, and so forth. And the modifiable aerial unit problem, MAUP, is one example of the change of support problem, and its temporal version is called modifiable temporal unit problem, MTUP. In recent years, researchers shed light on similar but different issues called uncertain context problem as well. And furthermore, I'd like to point out that this will be more important as diverse spatial temporal big data becomes available in various scales in terms of space and time. So how would I make a contribution to resolve the problem? In this presentation, I propose a functional principal component analysis to reduce the modifiable temporal unit problem. While a principal component analysis, PCA, is a general method that extracts principal components from discrete data sets, functional principal component analysis, FPCA, is adapted form of PCA for functional data. On FPCA, extracts principal components from the transformed functional data on a statistical basis by unsupervised learning algorithm. So in this paper, FPCA is used to transform 24-hour basis discrete data into continuous function encompassing the urban vitality throughout the day. The study area is the capital of South Korea, Seoul, and for comparative analysis, I focused on the 3 major downtowns of Seoul, as you can see on the map. The historic downtown has been marked in blue, the financial district in Yeouido in red, and in green, you can see Gangnam, an area famous for its mix of businesses and entertainment. With the cooperation of SK Telecom, the largest network provider in South Korea, I was granted access to the 2 main data sets for this research. The first one is big data on the number of transactions and sales made with credit and debit cards. And the second one was pedestrian traffic data based on cell phone activity. Since data sets were collected on an hourly basis, the functional principal component analysis is an efficient method to transform the discrete data of 24 hours into a continuous functional form. For example, this is a quick glance of the volume of pedestrian traffic in the study area over 24 hours. So first, I will show how results from FPCA looks like with the example of an analysis on the number of bank card transactions in the entire study area. The x-axis shows 24 hours in a day, and the y-axis depicts the harmonic score. The three lines show to what extent in which temporal horizon each principal component contributes to the total variability. The plus and minus signed lines designate the positive and negative contribution respectively. The first principal component extracted from FPCA indicates the major trend of the temporal variability. Since it's high in daytime, I would say it represents daytime vitality. But in the bottom, you can see that the second principal component gives the most positive contribution to the total variability around 7 p.m. This is the characteristic of nighttime vitality, which is not captured by the major trend of bank card transactions over 24 hours. The second result I'd like to share is the comparison of urban vitality measured by pedestrian traffic in the three downtowns in Seoul. As you can see in the red panel, the second principal component positively contributes earlier in the financial districts in Yeouido than the other two districts. This finding reflects that the reason Yeouido does not have nightlife culture distinguished from its business-oriented local context in daytime. The following result is a cross-seasonal analysis. The plus signed line is found above the minus signed line from 1600, 4 p.m. in April, while it is around 1500, 3 p.m. in December. This means that urban vitality in leisure and non-work activities during nighttime can be subject to the seasonal effects as well. Okay, let me summarize the 4 discussion points, which also correspond to the gaps in nighttime studies I raised at the beginning of the presentation. First, FPCA is an unsupervised learning method that can be utilized to define nighttime on a statistical basis rather than an arbitrary way of delineation between daytime and nighttime. Second, non-first principal components extracted from FPCA can reveal the temporal characteristics of nighttime vitality, which is eclipsed by the dominating daytime vitality. Third, FPCA enables a scale-free analysis to mitigate the modifiable temporal unit problem. Lastly, the exploratory process allows researchers to decide how each component will be interpreted. For example, some principal components could be labeled as early morning vitality, or lunchtime vitality, or twilight vitality, according to the temporal variability each harmonic represents. Okay, let me conclude by emphasizing the contributions of the research in 3 domains. The first aim of the paper is to suggest the FPCA as a method to mitigate the modifiable temporal unit problem, which is significant in a spatial temporal modeling and analysis. Second, if similar data is available, this method can be applied to different spatial temporal data. So I brought an example of big data in Seoul, but I'll be very excited to apply this method to big data collected in different cities and time frame in the future. And lastly, when it comes to the policy domain, it can provide a systematic way to measure living population. In the context of population decline in the Korean society, Ministry of the Interior and Safety, 행정안전부, and the Statistics Korea, 통계청, accepted living population to complement residential population. As far as know, it is a very similar concept with relationship population, 관계인구 in Korean, or 관계인구 in Japanese. As far as know, it is already utilized in Japan in a very similar context. However, it is still in a question how we decide the threshold of duration, how long someone was present in certain cities or regions. Since someone's timeline over a day or week is continuous rather than discrete, I believe the suggested method of functional principal component analysis, FPCA, can provide a systematic way to analyze people's footprints across cities and regions. So yeah, so far this was my presentation, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Kim. Yeah, we listened to the full presentation, and now we will discuss about the findings. And this discussion is will be conducted in a question and answer format, Q&A format. First, I would like to ask the Japanese presenters, Professor and Mr. Jinai, and Professor asked to other two Korean presenters. So my questions to Japanese presenters is first, presentation exploring human mobility for urban planning. I have two questions. First, Professor delivering such an intriguing presentation and extensively discussed the utilization of big data in both Japan and Korea. Could you kindly explain the differences in the data environments of these two countries? Second question is, during your presentation, you mentioned the potential of big data in regional planning. Could you please provide a further elaboration and delve into more specific details on this topic?
Okay, thank you for your great question. And for first question, yeah, I did several case studies using the big data in Korea and Japan. This is my just individual knowledge. First of all, the difference is that in Japan, the private company like the Mr. Jinai try to their best to utilize the big data. Is I think the private driven is strong in Japan. But on the other hand, of course, in Korea, there are many the companies such as SK or LG Telecom, Telecom utilize their data, but the power came from the government side. So as I explained in my first point, that the Seoul opened the data, then the free for everyone. So it is very surprising from the perspective of Japanese. So I also discussed with Professor Kawashima how the Korean can do that. So I'd like to learn, if possible, about that point. And then the other part is that still now, this is my individual opinion, the Japanese government afraid of the privacy problem more than the Korean. So in case of Korean, the Professor Kim's presentation, he used the credit card, the data. I think if we want to, if the Korean scholar want to use that, it is easily get it from the data center of each city government like that. But in case of Japan, still now, it's not easy to get that kinds of the very private data. So I don't know what is good. So sometimes there can be a problem in Korea because privacy problem. So I think that is a great difference between them. So if possible, Professor Kawashima maybe give us a little bit comments for these points.
Oh, thank you, Professor. I think, as you said, the perspective from the government toward privacy issue is more sensitive, as far as I see, than Korea, because there are lots of media and criticism by media, newspapers, and other TV stations and others. They often strictly criticize the leakage of the very small personal data related data. I don't think it's really personal data, but it's a tendency for Japanese private newspaper and media companies has a very criticizing and attitude toward Japanese government. And I think I'm really wondering how the Korean government and Korean municipalities have been dialoguing with the private companies to make a very positive and productive partnership with Korean carriers like KT and others, because as Professor Eom said, that in the first time they realized the fully open human mobility data. So I suppose in Korean government, Seoul government or Korean central government must have had some good capacity to deal with creating capacity of creating good positive relation with the private sector. I'm not sure, so I really want to have some response or some ideas from the Korean side. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so for the second question, so this is the initial stage of the regional planning. So I think it is common the problem in Korea and Japan. So regarding the city level, there are many problems that cannot be solved in the individual city levels. For example, regarding disaster evacuation or using some public facilities such as library, hospital, or other facilities. So now I think regarding the decreasing population, we need to consider how we can collaborate with the other cities. But to do that, we cannot ignore the real human flow. So if the cities collaborate without any human flow really, so then the plan will be end as planned. So in that sense, the big data give a good information about which cities is very familiar with our citizens, then can be already have a great connection. That is one of the base for the regional planning, then make a collaboration or agreement before the disaster or when they make the urban planning. So if possible, I'd like to share my idea after in another seminar. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Yeah, my next question to Mr. Junai. Location data for Battle City. I have two questions to Mr. Junai. First, using GPS-based data looks very attractive. Important process to using GPS-based data in urban planning is to check the representativeness and accuracy of data to get understanding from citizens. Could you shed light on how GEOTRA ensures these factors are secured during the data processing phase? And the second question, in addition, comparing with existing data such as traffic camera looks important for data processing. Based on your experience, which kinds of data should be prepared from the public sector?
Okay. So first question is about the accuracy of data of privacy protection. Accuracy.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have the big data pipeline to process the data. So in terms of accuracy, the most important one is, of course, the accuracy of the GPS data itself. So if the GPS raw data is incorrect, it's really difficult to create like accurate data set. So, but of course, there are some like noises in GPS data sets. So what we do is kind of calibration in the data processing. So we combine so mainly we use GPS data, but in the data accuracy projects, firstly, so we have some result in accuracy. Of course, there are some like gaps between the actual data and GPS data set, and then we do the calibration to adjust our GPS-based data to the actual like data like that. So that kind of like customized like calibration like data processing is required. So especially if the municipalities or like or maybe government uses GPS big data. So, and so second question is that so we usually use the census data from the government to develop the data set. So because so when you use GPS big data, so of course you cannot get 100% of data because KDDI's or like our data source share in MNO is around 30%. So if we can, you can do 30% of data, and we have to expand it to the 100%. And in that process, we use the census data which government has. So census data is especially is essential to use the GPS big data. And another important data that government can like provide is maybe road network data or something. So we use road network data by using OpenStreetMap, but which is kind of open sourced like a map platform. But sometimes it is incorrect actually. So because it's open source map project. So Japanese government now providing the road network data, but it's really correct, but it is really difficult to use in terms of big data analysis. So it's not adjusted to like the data format like we usually use. So I'm really like we are really happy that if Japanese government or maybe another government provide like correct roadmap data in like in some data format that data scientists can easily use. So that's what we think. Yeah.
Thank you. Our question for the last two presenters to Professor Eom. Professor Eom, go on to the question to other presenters.
Okay, thank you for your great presentation today. So I'd like to give just one question for each presenter. For the first, Professor Yeo, and I think it's very surprising that your ETA model shows great performance, even though very simple data, just the straight line and or the day of week. So I was very surprised, but I think there is still a gap between the real and predicted time. So do you have any idea to improve the accuracy of the estimation, such as, for example, considering the network distance or sometimes weather, or if possible, maybe, as you said, considering the link congestion is very heavy work, but if possible, I think there's a lot of open data. And do you have any idea or do you have any plan to improve your ETA model?
Well, thank you for your question. It is very critical question, I think. And as you said, I think the weather information is very important, and the weather data is open in Korea, so I can apply it immediately. But the network distance, I also considered it as an input features, but the problem is that the calculating network distance costs a lot in terms of the computation time. So because we have to calculate their route first, and then the summation of each speed at each individual link, it takes a lot of time. So that's why I use the straight line distance. So I think that's the limitation of the model, but our model is not only focused on to get the accuracy, but I want to focus on to improve their prediction speed. So that's why some of key values are excluded from the model.
Okay, thank you. So I think that because time limitation, I have a lot of questions, but I'd like to discuss with you individually. Sorry about that.
Okay.
For the Professor Kim, I always thank you about your great presentation. And so I think you suggest to highlight the importance of considering temporal uncertainty, temporal perspective a lot. So, but as you mentioned that there is a challenge of the modifiable area unit problem. So now your study, you separate 3 districts, but I think there can be different within the 3 districts. So in that perspective, we have to consider both spatial and the temporal context in together. And I think it is very difficult problem, but if you have idea, I'd like to discuss here your idea about that.
Hey, great. Yeah, thank you for your great question. Actually, that was my first big picture, like during my PhD years. Okay, I will integrate the temporal and spatial side, and then I'll make a kind of big framework to integrate them. But this was my first step to get into the big picture. But anyway, the methodology to tackle modifiable aerial unit problem, the spatial side, was already covered by many researchers. So I found a relatively, there's still a gap in the temporal side. So that was the main reason I tried to tackle the MTUP and by this research. To answer your question, I'd rather talk about the data side, not the methodology side, because I already mentioned some methodology side. So I'd like to bring it more practical and fundamental issues in data. So, as many of you already know, there's a grid data, like population data collected at the scale of like 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. So I would say that in general, the smaller the scale, the better data and the better analysis, no matter it is temporal or spatial. But one of the biggest problem I've had for different kind of research is that we need to agglomerate the micro scale data anyway to combine with other big data or small data. Because even though I have a very data, grid data, or any kind of data at very small scale, but if I want to combine it with very big scale, anyway, I have to agglomerate the better one. Again, to fit into the worst one. So in other words, we should agglomerate them at the scale of the least common multiple when different kinds of data sets are combined. So that is still a big challenge to, okay, we have some kinds of data at small scales and small temporal and spatial scale, but still there are many conventional data sets collected at the scale of province or prefecture or city. So anyway, we will lose the strength of the small scale. So there's still big challenge, I guess.
Okay, thank you. So I think we can have a more discussion in next week.
Right, okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we in this seminar we encompassed a lot of various range of topics, including human activities to digital twins and time unit problems. And our seminar to foster the exchange of knowledge and ideas between both organizations in 2 countries, I think is very fruitful, and we hope to continue this seminar to be continued. Especially KPA, Korea Planning Association, express our heartfelt gratitude to Professor Hiroichi Kawashima and the University of Tsukuba for their collaboration and support. We also extend our gratitude to all the participants from Korea and Japan who have joined us for this collaborative seminar. We lastly listen to the closing remarks from Professor Kawashima.
Oh, it's to me. It's an unexpected challenge to me. Anyway, thank you for your all collaborative efforts to make it possible for us having this, first opportunity to international seminar for us, because this is the first international event which is organized by us and with your association. And I think we have had a very, inspiring and very, meaningful exchanges between us, and from different types of aspects, from very detailed aspects or very, large aspects, or policy-related aspects, or methodology aspects. And I hope building on today's exchanges, we can further develop our deeper and our further discussions about how we can create better actual outcomes from our discussions. And I hope to have another time, hopefully face to face to have real discussion in Seoul or in Busan or in Tsukuba or Tokyo. Thank you very much for all your contributions to this event. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll close the seminar. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
皆様ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
고맙습니다.